Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the acting state Labor leader has remained behind closed doors as the party faces accusations of a toxic culture. Federal leader Anthony Albanese distancing himself from David O'Byrne as questions are raised over whether the MP should stay in Parliament.
The federal Labor leader backing away from the party's woes in Tasmania, refusing to weigh in on whether David O'Byrne is fit to remain as a member for Franklin after allegations of sexual harassment.
We have processes in place that ensure confidentiality and ensure that we don't discuss the details of it, but David O'Byrne has made that decision.
Labor Senator URQUHART also remaining tight-lipped.
There is independent processes going through investigations on that, and I won't be commenting any further on that.
As was our Premier.
My position on this has been clear, that processes should take their course. That's a matter for the Labor Party.
The Labor Party battling allegations it's plagued by a toxic culture.
She raised these allegations 14 years ago with people within the Labor movement. They were ignored and she was mocked at the time. She hoped that the toxic culture within the Labor Party had changed. But what we have clearly seen over the last week is that the culture has not changed.
Acting Labor leader Anita Dow shying away from the cameras today, releasing a statement instead, saying it is critical that all women feel empowered and supported to speak up. The party is set to elect a new leader at a meeting on Wednesday. The controversy overshadowing Labor's announcement of its federal candidate for BRADDON, LYNCH, who has been a Burnie City Councillor for the last 8 years. Health and housing, major campaign issues.
Inequality in people's access to housing, inequality in people's access to basic health care.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Fire tore through a derelict house overnight in what police believe may have been a deliberately lit blaze. Neighbours forced to evacuate their Ravenswood homes after waking to raining embers and extreme heat.
Get inside!
In suburban Ravenswood, an early morning fireball erupts. A house engulfed, smoke pouring into the sky as fear consumes neighbours.
Hey, you should move your car, because if the fence catches on fire and your car does, everything else will go up!
Erwin Jordan rushed his young family out of their Mornington Drive home before the flames could spread.
I got them out of the house straight away. Yeah, it was pretty scary.
My son was screaming because he didn't know what to expect.
Onlookers were practically useless against the raging heat until emergency crews screamed to the scene, dousing the house as it began to cave in around them. It was eventually brought under control, and in daylight, the full extent of the damage became clear. The shell of a house that witnesses say no one has lived in for 3 years when it was last burnt down.
Really burnt out before it actually got burnt out again.
Fueling police suspicions that this was an act of arson. They're calling with anyone with information to come forward. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
After weeks of being cut off from Hobart, good news is on the way for Orford residents trapped by the Tasman highway closure. Our reporter Elizabeth O'Neill joins us now with new details. Good evening, Lizzie. So we finally have a reopening date for Paradise Gorge.
That's right, Kim. It's been just over 5 weeks since that major thoroughfare was completely closed, but now it's set to open again on Thursday. State Growth revealed late this afternoon the Tasman Highway will be open to all traffic from 7 a.m. on July 8. A 40km/h speed limit will be imposed on the 300-metre length of the road, with only one lane open for now and delays of around 10 minutes expected. It has been a long 5 weeks for residents forced to take a 3-hour detour while dangerous rocks were removed from the edge of the highway. Experts say work clearing the roadway progressed extremely well over the weekend, meaning all rocks and debris debris in the way have been removed. This is slightly earlier than the original mid-July deadline. And while the remaining work is expected to take another 6 weeks, Kim, this is sure to be welcome news for residents and travellers with the school holidays.
A car has ploughed through the doors of a major shopping centre in Glenorchy, narrowly missing pedestrians. Glass was left scattered across escalators at Big W after the vehicle crashed through the car park. Emergency services were called to the scene around midday. No one was injured in the incident, including the driver. Initial investigations found the crash was a result of driver error. And 2 cars have been damaged following a crash on Balfour and Bathurst streets in Launceston. 1 lane of traffic was blocked around 1:30 this afternoon as emergency services attended the scene. Police say no one was seriously injured in the incident. Tasmania has reopened its borders to parts of Western Australia and the Northern Territory. From this afternoon, the locked-out regions were bumped down to a low-risk classification. Anyone currently in quarantine after visiting those areas, including Greater Perth, Mandurah, Darwin and Alice Springs, is now able to leave isolation. However, 13 areas in Queensland will remain as high risk for at least the next 48 hours as COVID continues to spread. Meanwhile, in WA, police are searching for 32-year-old Tasmanian man Kyle Stevens after he fled hotel quarantine in that state. Police say he arrived in Perth on July 1 after flying through Sydney. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Tasmanians can once again enjoy quarantine-free trips to New Zealand after the country lifted its travel ban with parts of Australia at midnight. Visitors from Victoria, South Australia and the ACT are also permitted to travel, but only after returning a negative COVID test. The ban was put in place last month following escalating coronavirus cases. The first flight back into Hobart is now due to touchdown on Thursday. A timber shortage could be busting Tasmania's building boom, with projects stalling due to a lack of supply. The industry is calling for more trees to be planted. Builders are warning of job losses unless a short-term solution is found.
The contracts are signed and the slabs are poured, set to become someone's dream home. But the process is becoming a nightmare, with a key feature in short supply.
There's slabs down, ready to build, or put the frames up, and we cannot get the timber.
A housing stimulus package fueling Tasmania's construction boom, coming at a time when timber is hard to access.
We have our local suppliers working around the clock trying to supply Tassie, and they can't keep up.
We are seeing delays, particularly for timber and also for some steel products.
Made even more difficult by recent natural disasters interstate.
The Black Summer bushfires, which unfortunately took 60,000 hectares of softwood timber, that would have been available now.
As well as delaying the process for homeowners. Builders warn jobs are at stake.
We cannot get the timber to build, so the slabs are down and then the builders have to go home.
Industry leaders say the shortage should encourage Tasmania to become more self-sufficient.
In terms from a forest industry point of view, it's about planting more trees. I think that's key.
Also confident the state is producing solutions.
We're seeing more engineered wood products coming onto the market and produced in Tasmania, like cross-laminated timber and even ply.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Ceremonies have taken place across the state to mark the beginning of NAIDOC Week. Tasmania's Aboriginal community has used the occasion to celebrate its culture while demanding changes and the adoption of a formal treaty.
Celebrating a culture tens of thousands of years old. This traditional ceremony in Launceston marking the start of NAIDOC Week, commemorating Aboriginal identity and culture.
And we're looking forward to celebrating who we are, our culture, our stories with the broader community.
In Hobart, the Aboriginal flag was raised at Risdon Cove, where colonial rule began. The spot now home to a rallying call for reconciliation.
Remember that this is Aboriginal country, this is Aboriginal land, and to remember all the good things about Aboriginal Australia.
It comes as the state considers a treaty. Premier Peter Gutwin throwing his support behind it.
We must find an agreed pathway to achieve reconciliation with our First Nations people, the Tasmanian Aboriginal people.
So we're just so pleased now that Premier Gutwein has mentioned it, and we're ready to embark on this journey with him.
Former Governor Kate Warner helping start those discussions.
We're just really listening at this stage to what the community want in terms of reconciliation.
However, land rights and economic opportunity remain an area of contention. The state's heritage laws also facing criticism, recently labelled the most outdated in the country.
They're wrecking what's left of our heritage. That needs to change.
The emerging generation inspired to take a stand.
We get to be with our people, all about our people, and it's just for us.
It's having a week where it just focuses on celebrating us, our survival, our ongoing culture.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
To the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes now after round 14. Clarence's Colin Garland was awarded 3 points for his 6-goal haul against the Demons. North Launceston's Michael Stingle was best on ground against Glenorchy. And Cody Thorpe took top honours in Launceston's thrashing of Lauderdale. A rare absence of the top 3 leaders in this week's votes. Jay Foon leads Jay Blackberry by a point on 18, followed by Jake Hines on 14. The Tasmania Jack Jumpers have added a 2-time NBL Premiership winner and sharpshooter Clint Steindl to its armoury for the upcoming season. The 32-year-old says he's excited for the next phase in his career, becoming a mentor for young players. He's widely regarded as a sniper outside the 3-point line.
Steindl working hard to get open. There's his look. And there he goes again.
But Clint Steindl's latest target is Tasmania's newest team.
It's exciting for my part of my career.
A career that has spanned almost a decade across 3 NBL teams, including 2 premierships with the Perth Wildcats. Experience the 32-year-old knows will be valuable at a new franchise with young players.
Help establish a new team in this league, but especially in the Tasmanian community.
A strong relationship with former Wildcats assistant and now Jack Jumpers head coach Scott Roth helped seal the move. A Perth roster raid that could continue, with towering attacking weapon Will Magnay also on the radar. To the NPL, where confidence is sky high at Launceston City after a 5-1 demolition of crosstown rival Riverside.
A lot of the young boys really stepped up a lot in that game, and it proved to us that we're really moving forward as a squad.
The side is looking to string together a 3rd straight win this weekend against Clarence Zebras. And 4 faces of the Tasmanian Tigers female program will jet off to the UK to compete in cricket's newest 100-ball format.
It's 100 balls, so basically they're 5 ball overs.
A foreign arena where players Heather Graham and Rachel Priest are keen to test themselves for the Trent Rockets under the guidance of fellow head coach Sally-Ann Beams and analyst Tim Kendrew.
I guess some game time under my belt is never a bad thing. It's not sure what it's going to throw at you, but I think it's obviously going to be a learning experience for everyone, even the English girls over there.
The 100 will begin later this month. Tasmanian motocross stars have battled it out around against 300 riders for the Hatton Desert Race. Kyron Bacon and Jonty Reinders head around the track in rural Victoria, winning both their classes, while in the juniors, Cooper Ford and Angus Summers both sealed a 2nd place. Tate Young and Zach Buxton also had strong performances.
Good evening. Hobart, Launceston and Devonport 13 today. Burnie 11 degrees. The top was 14 at Friendly Beaches as we move into our coldest month of the year. Flinders Island, St Helens and Bushy Park all 13. King Island, Lowhead and Grove 12. Strawn 11. Lyowini a high of 6 degrees. Low level cloud over the western half of Tasmania. Mostly cloud free conditions elsewhere around the state. North-east nice and sunny. Middle to high level cloud extended over southeastern parts of the country. Low cloud evident over the Bight with cloud swirling just south of WA. Tomorrow the high over southern New South Wales has a ridge pushing just down to our west. A complex area of fronts and a low well further back. Winds west to southwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the south and lower east in the morning. A gradual easing will occur during the day. Swells to 4.5 metres in southern waters. Strong wind warning from the top of Flinders Island to St Helens Point and further down the east coast as well from Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point. Forecast 9 degrees for Hobart with a shower or 2 tomorrow. 10 the top for Adventure Bay. Showers easing from Tarraleah, a high of 7. Launceston 2 overnight, partly cloudy 13 tomorrow, 14 for Devonport, partly cloudy for Bridport 13 the maximum. Burnie, partly cloudy and 14. Morning showers clearing from the west. Strawn 12 and Marrawar 13 degrees. St Helens a high of 13 and partly cloudy. 11 for Swansea. Possible shower on Flinders Island. 13 the maximum. On Wednesday, widespread morning frost and fine apart from a shower through Bass Strait. Fine and partly cloudy on Thursday. Maybe a shower over the northwest. And on Friday another frost and another partly cloudy day. Possible shower for St Helens. Showers and a storm forecast for Perth. Partly cloudy in Adelaide and Melbourne. Fog and frost in Canberra, -3 there to start the day. Sunny in Sydney, partly cloudy for Brisbane. And all current temperatures slipping back into single figures. Kim, the AFL have just released the rest of round 17 for this weekend. And Hawthorn will play at UTAS Stadium against Fremantle Saturday at 1:45. And it concludes Monday night, a Monday night game in Perth with 100% capacity.
OK, thanks very much, Murph. Sport reporter now. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. We'll have local news, sport and weather updates throughout the night. For now, good night.